afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here to have a roundtable of the transformative power of Gen AI and NI in the media landscape. With us, we have two of the most important powerhouses of media in the media landscape in the world. So we have with us Félicité Herzog, Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer at VIVENDI. And Félicité is also has been publishing several books. And also with us, we have Rhys Nölke, Chief Data Officer at Bertelsmann. So again, thanks a lot to have you there. For me, it's probably the best roundtable I can have on this topic. And happy to walk you through this. We've been all seeing like the impact on AI and specifically Gen AI in the last months on the media landscape, in the way, for example, content will be produced, will be distributed, and will be consumed. So we will be walking through those topics with our two guests today. Before starting, and because of what we see in the headline, I want just to start with you as a person and try to understand how AI and especially Gen AI has been infiltrating your life, your personal life. How is it impacting it? Or are you using it? And any tips on this? Félicité, if you want. Thanks.
Well, it helps me a lot when I do the homework of my children. So I use it quite a deal. But I also use it as a writer to stimulate ideas. When I test novel ideas, it's very, very interesting and fun to play with AI, to see generative AI, to see what would be the outcome of a love story or an issue or just a history at a certain date. It's a help facing the blank page.
Okay, thanks. Rhys?
Well, I've been sort of trying to avoid sort of getting this sort of the general ChatGPT answers on some stuff, but after the first novelty, I kind of felt, okay, that's cool. But I moved a little bit over to actually a more personal interest, which is more graphic design, etc. And so I started with a little bit of DALL-E already some time ago, and that's cool. But I've also now seen on how the Adobe Firefly is really sort of rocking the stage, and that's pretty cool. If you just use the web version, it's okay.
Okay, thanks. So now let's move to Bertelsmann and Vivendi, and would like to understand and to know, so within your company, how AI and Gen AI has been impacting your operation, your strategy, the vision, and if there's a specific use case you can share with us about AI or Gen AI that you've been using or you've been seeing like bringing impact to your teams.
Well, there are many use cases, obviously, ranging from indexing, tagging. We've used AI for a very long time, in fact, but also helping creation in advertising at Avas or designing in-game assets for Gameloft, which is our gaming company, video gaming company, and also at Canal to help writing scripts. Or, just, for example, tagging some programs, TV programs in real time, in many different languages. This is very, very helpful to us, very precious. But I would quote one specific use case that we're working on, which is extremely promising, which is a recommendation, a book recommendation based on individual taste of users. So the hard part is actually to know the taste of users, and we've developed an interesting tool that can catch the very wide spectrum of literary taste through vocally. So you don't need to type anything. We use the voice the vocal assistant. We're working with Microsoft on that. So this is very promising because you can see what the service it can bring, the benefit in terms of a magnitude of search. You all know what is book recommendation on the different platforms, and often it's only the most recent novels, only the most recent books. it's not very, it's a really basic algorithm. And what we try to develop is really something which is sophisticated, where you can search very subtle criteria. So this is one, obviously it's one among others.
Have you been able to test it with your books?
Yes, we have developed a pilot, and it's obviously you need the input. So all books that are tagged and publicly published are in the database, and we are training the LLM so that it can actually answer and propose relevant, personalized choices.
Well, I think at Bertelsmann, we basically sort of have the opportunity to actually also look across multiple different businesses. And I think that's where actually also we stopped counting use cases, I think last summer, where we actually sort of came up to 200, 250, I think, cases where we were just looking and trying to analyze, where are the commonalities here for media, where you actually say, okay, Bertelsmann actually in essence is multimodal, because we have the TV business, we have the music business, we have of course magazines, books and publishing as such, as well as services and education businesses out there. So that is kind of the big challenge in my view, to just depict that one use case, to say, okay, that's cool, and we've tried to sort of shape this to, let's say, 4 big priority cases where we see content editing, specifically in the newsroom, as one of the big challenges going forward, and how do we actually do that in a responsible way. But when you go into the production business, the content studio of the future, how can you actually use the technology supporting creatives in the post-production, actually creating virtual studios, etc. That's I think the big game changer, that you don't only need to rely on really high cost video special effects. You can do some things actually at a much lower cost. And I think that's, for me, a little bit the fascinating part of AI, that it is not only around the efficiencies on the one side, but also being able to lift, let's say, certain jobs and tasks actually to a new level. And that is obviously also going to be a new competitive field, of course, with some challenges. But I think that is, in the case of AI for media, the big area where we believe the opportunity lies.
Yeah, definitely. What you said is really striking, because it will lead to mass production. So it will scale, lift, also make jobs more interesting, more creative. And definitely at Vivendi, what we see is that we will have more and more personalized content. So this is what we target. We will have more data, thank God, and also it will help AI to get immersive experiences more and more with augmented reality. So there are many roads that we can see for AI, and it will transform very deeply our industry.
Quick anecdote on a use case that I see a lot in Latin America, where I'm based, is that now in newspaper you have article, and at the end it says this article has been written by Gen AI and read, controlled, verified by one of a journalist. Is this something that we can see in Europe? Are you doing this already to help your journalists produce more, as Rhys was saying, like augmented journalists, for example?
I think we've tried to actually break it down in steps, because I think the production process with AI is still very much in the making. Actually serializing in the editorial newsroom, for instance, the use of AI tools is actually is still something that you need to get operationalized. But in our view, at least, that's how we've tried to frame it as a creative, or let's say principle here. It starts with a human and it ends with a human. And I mean, any editor in his, and I've started my career also in the content business. Of course, I was at that time, I was a star in the newsroom, because basically I had worked out how to research online via Google what was already in the tabloids or in the news in US and UK, and in Germany the press would only report the next day. At that time, nobody had that access. So this type of privileged access, and these tools are always going to determine how AI is adopted in this case. And I think that is also something that is pretty clear, that journalistic principles will rely only on AI in there. So I'm not even a big believer on these type of, let's say, notifications and watermarking or whatever you call them on pictures, etc. Because there's always a risk that somebody has manipulated a picture, whether you have that label or not. It's about the brand that sends it out and actually has the credibility. I think that is more important.
Yeah, this issue of certification of content is key, and obviously journalists, advertisers will be curators. We are going to be media curators, and to help us, we are, as Vivendi, joining the C2PA coalition, which consists of Adobe, Microsoft, BBC, and a number of very big players, so that we can work on the certification of content and being able, embedded in hardware, so that we actually define the norm, and I think Bertelsmann is part of it as well. Yeah. So this is key. In fact, this is key to guarantee AI development in good conditions. We need, as an industry, to fall on the right norms.
Okay, so yeah, norms, understanding the situation, and clear communication. My last question will be, in the next 5 years, how do you envision the use of AI and Gen AI in each of your company? Like, what do you see, or like, if we can be crazy in the next 3 minutes, what do you want, or what will you see? What will you bet?
It's a big question. It's a great question to project oneself. I guess there will be multiple ways of accessing users. We will be able to define very precisely what people want to see, what they want to hear, what they want to read, to a level to an extent we've never reached before. And it will certainly change the value chain of the industry, because on the one hand, we will have very creative, pricey services, and on the other hand, we will have something which is actually very commoditized, processed. So we will see where the line will stay.
In my view, the media industry is actually still really out there to actually steer and gear all the flurry of, let's say, different hype cycles that we are seeing in terms of the usage and adoption. I think the professional content business will definitely prevail in a way where it's going to also become much more. I think the user will actually become much more used to even higher production value and higher production, let's say, quality on content. And what we actually will also need to manage, and that's more me now from a tech side, actually looking at this, is also keeping AI and the systems, the different models. And we're talking about, I think, in 2 or 3 years of hundreds of different models, fine-tuned, infused with own data, with external data, having certain challenges also on compliance around this, and actually managing all of this. And I think that's basically a very boring topic, to be honest. It's not that kind of big, colorful media world, but I think it is actually one of the key areas where you will need to know what's happening with your data and your content going into different directions in different distribution channels. And I think that is the bigger challenge I have actually in me at the moment, of saying how we will navigate this. And there, if we actually make that work, then I think it will be a huge success for all different types of businesses. And we've seen now in the last 1 one or 2 years now. Actually, we were just talking about the music industry before we got on stage. At the beginning, big drama around what's going to happen. Then it was sort of going back and forth. So it's going, we're going to see some waves, and that's going to actually going to be a very impressive journey, I suppose.
Yes, and the economics are key. Obviously, it will get more stable and more consensual when we will have find the right economics, which is still somehow challenging when there's such a new technology with great applications.
Great, amazing. So quality of data, quality of content, and business models, that will be key. Great, thanks a lot for your contribution and sharing with us and with the people here. Thanks, and we'll have the next session. Thank you.